All right, let's get now to our panel of experts. As we said, we've got Future Fund Portfolio Manager, Managing Partner Gary Black, Gerber Kawasaki CEO Ross Gerber, and CNBC, of course, Auto and Air Industry reporter Phil LeBeau. Thank you all for joining us. Phil, first to you. A lot there. Wasn't all in your beat. What stuck out the most to you about Tesla?
Well, obviously what he said about full self-driving and the potential for what it could mean in terms of the bottom line for Tesla and in terms of what it could mean for transportation. I hate to harp on this, but he has been saying this for several years. We're close to full self-driving. We're close to full self-driving. We're close to full self-driving. If there is a reason why there will be people who will say, we've heard it before, it's because they have heard it before. Do I think on paper that Elon Musk is correct, that it could revolutionize transportation and that it is potentially could open on a world of possibilities in terms of revenue? Absolutely. But there are a lot of ifs within that possibility that I think make some people sit there and say, I'll believe it when I see it. Will they have their Chat GPT moment in the next year and a half or so, as Elon suggests? Maybe. I don't doubt it. They have a ton of artificial intelligence that they are collecting on all of these vehicles when they are in full self-driving mode. There's no doubt about that. But I also know that there are a lot of very smart people within the auto industry who have told me time and again, we are not close to seeing full self-driving automobiles.
Yeah, Phil, follow up on that because, we've been talking about this for 12 years. And, there's the auto side of the business and the technology about whether it's possible. Then go talk to an auto insurance executive and they'll be like, yeah, we got a lot to figure out. How do you insure it? What if something goes catastrophically wrong? Full self-driving may be a possibility from a technological or automation perspective, correct? But to your point, there are a lot of hurdles. Is there a chance that it does not ever happen?
I don't think that it never happens. I think that it eventually will happen. Do I expect it to happen within the next year based on people that I have talked with within the auto industry? No. Do I think that we will see advancements where you see it in geo-fenced areas, as you do in California, in San Francisco? You see it in Phoenix. You're going to see it soon in Austin. And we're talking about Waymo and some of the others, Cruise, that are doing that. But at the same time, when Elon says full self-driving, I'm expecting these vehicles to pick me up here in Times Square, take me to Brooklyn, take me somewhere else, and I never see any kind of an engagement. Most people that I've talked with have said, we're not close. We're very close, but we're not there. You cannot say we're going to be at 100% anytime soon.
Yeah, let's bring him in. Ross, obviously, listen, I was recently in your town, L.A., okay? First off, Santa Monica Boulevard, every third car was a Tesla. So I kind of understand why people in L.A. are bullish on Tesla as well. And I thought if I walk into traffic, will that car stop on its own? Do you think that FSD, full self-driving, is going to unlock that, 5x value of the car that Musk told David about?
Just a couple of things. First of all, I don't know if Phil has used the software lately. I use it every day, and I just drove to work with it, and it's amazing. Like, the fact it's not perfect, I don't think that's up for debate. It's not perfect yet. But I was following behind a driver who was extremely poor at driving. And in LA, I'm sure you would agree with me, Sully, that most drivers are just horrendously bad. Just horrendously bad. It's already better than most humans. So if you're over 80 and you're driving, this is already better than you on the road. So the idea is that the expectation that it's got to be perfect or close to it. And that's what makes this so difficult to solve. And driving in LA is just like a madhouse. So if you think about this as a solution in most cities around the country, it already works very good. And it's only a matter of time till it works completely. So I think that when you use the software daily and you see how quickly it's learning, your perspective is very different than if you don't use the software or have never used the software at all. So
Brian,
it seems like most people who opine about it have never actually used it.
Brian, wait a second. I'm not debating that the full self-driving software is better than 99% of the human drivers. We are terrible drivers. That's not the debate. The debate is when he says we will have full self-driving autonomous vehicles, that means 100% or 99.99.9%. Because if it's not at that level, at some point the regulators will step in. So it's not that it has to be better than us. It already is better than us.
It's better than us, but you got to look at it from a different perspective. One of the problems with full self-driving is it's got to work around humans, the other human drivers. This is most of the reason I have to disengage is because other people do really dumb stuff, and I've got to like make an evasive maneuver or something.
You are 100% right. But if you tell me that I can take my car at some point and it's full self-driving and it takes me to work at CNBC, and then I say, toodaloo, go off and you can be a robo-taxi for somebody, there's nobody behind the wheel. You know what I'm talking about. Ross, the humans, that's the equation.
It's going to take time. I'm not disagreeing with that.
284 million, and that's what you just said is the point. It's going to take time.
Yeah, but I'm not disagreeing that level 5 autonomy is going to be a very difficult challenge.
I want to keep it up. I want to keep it up because I dream of full self-driving every day, stuck in traffic, Ross and Phil.
Right.
Love to be able to actually get work done as opposed to, veering over to the side for my life on the turnpike. Gary Black, will it affect the stock? Let's bring it back to investors. If indeed this comes out and it's so good, is it going to move the stock maybe 5 times, like the car is worth 5 times, because they're the only ones that are likely going to have it, and all of a sudden people realize my car can make money for me?
Look, you guys are going down the wrong path. There's 3 takeaways from this meeting today, and none of them was FSD. There was nothing new presented about FSD. The 3 takeaways were, 1, they're going to try advertising and see how it goes. That is a totally new approach by Elon, and something we've talked about for a long time, and Ross has talked about a long time. It's a way you can add a lot of value to Tesla and bring it close to Apple's market cap, because you're not just relying on price to drive EV adoption. That was the first big point. Second big point is somebody asked Elon about the rumors about him leaving as CEO, and he said bluntly, it ain't so. He's not going anywhere. That's important. And the third big aha that I had was there's 2 new next generation products, and he put a number, said 5 million units on the 2 units, and it's probably a $25,000 hatchback and a $25,000 baby SUV. Those are the 3 most important points from today's meeting, because the stuff he talked about FSD was not new.
Do you worry, Gary, about these price cuts impacting margins? It appears that investors are great. $25,000 SUV, that's an electric SUV, sounds great on paper until you're losing $10,000 a car.
Well, don't look at it as a price cut. So if you think about Master Plan 1, it's all about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy by bringing out cheaper and cheaper products. So you start with Model S, you start with Roadster, then you go to Model S, then you go to Model 3, now you're going to go what we call Model 2. So these new next generation cars are going to cost half as much. So they're not going to lose money on these cars. They're probably going to make close to 20% margins on a dollar amount. It'll be a little bit less. That's very different from just cutting price on an existing product. So and I asked them a question at the end. I said, can you differentiate between your strategy of bringing out a so-called Model 2 that costs $25,000 and taking a price cut on Model Y, which will be the best-selling car in the world? And he talked, he didn't really answer the question, but what it sounded like he said is, look, we're trying to figure out supply and demand on a real-time basis every day. And my takeaway is they are not going to be cutting price again on Model Y. What they've done, as you know, they took prices down at the beginning of the year, 15, 20%, and they've been inching them back up. So that's the reason Tesla has been actually going up a little bit in the last couple of weeks, because people say it looks like the end of the price cuts, and it looks like second quarter is going to be the bottom of where gross margins are. And so I tried to get him to answer that question. He didn't really go for it. But that was not an important takeaway, because he really didn't answer the question. But the 3 most important takeaways are they will try advertising, which Ross and I both been on Tesla about for at least a year now. 2,
come on, Gary, aren't you ready to have a party tonight?
We are. And as you can see, I'm sitting on the bus outside the factory. And then the third is these 2 next generation products. Everybody's thinking 1, but one's going to be a hatchback, one's going to be a SUV. And the 5 million units, that's the first time he's put out a number. And I think that's a really important point to people. And that's why the stock will be up tomorrow, not because of FSD.
And Brian, and Gary hits on a great point with those 2 lower-priced models. Their cost of goods right now is already a huge challenge for their competitors. They get the Gigafactory in Mexico going.
David did a masterful interview, a lot of wide-ranging topics. Obviously, can't get to everything. I would have liked to have heard more about. Don't play the music. I'm going to ask Phil this question, whether we play the music or not. Phil, are you trying to basically put Rivian and Lordstown and Fisker and maybe one of the Detroit companies basically out of business, kill their EV business before it really even scales up. You just wonder if there's something.
I don't think he's worried about the startups. I don't think he's worried about the startups, and I don't think he's thinking about the traditional automakers. I think he is looking at what is the most. What's the logical next step in terms of our product portfolio? And as Gary mentioned, and as Ross has talked about, it's that entry-level vehicle. And if you can come in, my God, the number of people I talk with who say, God, if I could get a Tesla for $25,000, I would do it in a heartbeat. If you can come up with that, if they can find a way and to be profitable with it, that is that's going to be really tough for anybody to compete with, at least here in North America.
100%.
Absolutely. And then
we'll make it Mexico.
We got to go, guys. We had to go 5 minutes ago, apparently. Phil LeBeau, Ross Gerber, Gary Black, guys. Great discussion. Thank you very much.